my phone just didn't want to record more than 24 minutes. Anyway, this is just like Roadblock and Chore, a waste of an encounter. I got this on Route 111, and guys, there's literally a million of Pokemon you can get on Route 111. You can get Barboach. Barboach is super useful. You can get another Geodude, and like, I don't know, get something else somewhere else. And I had to get this piece of this totally like useless Pokemon. Slow, just I don't remember how this Pokemon got to level 35 and evolved into a Cacturn, but if you get a Cacturn, guys, like, you can use it against Phoebe, I guess, and even in round 2, I guess, but like, Cacturn has never been on my radar ever. Leap, on the other hand, is one of my favorite Pokemon, but I just didn't get to use him, sorry. I just never had a spot where it really fit. Maybe I didn't think too hard, but I also had like Golem and Sceptile basically doing her job. So unfortunately, her job. I call him. This is actually a guy. So his job. I would have actually used him, you know, if I had like under different circumstances. I would have used it. It's just that its level up move pool is a little bad. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I love Lily and Credilli very much, but it's just not worth it right now. Waste, it's pretty self-explanatory. Sky, because there used to be a YouTube amateur comic artist who did an Italian Pokemon comic called Pokemon, basically Blue Sky, Sky Blue, sorry, kind of like Fire Red and Leaf Green, but like called Blue Sky or Sky Blue. And yeah, he had a Credilli. His main character had a Credilli. He was also called Alex, and that's how I started loving that line, because of that guy. And also because other reasons. Anyway, Electrode, the unfortunate circumstances that led to this guy was that he basically stripped me away from a Magnemite encounter, and Magnezone is like must be one of the top 10 Pokemon to have in this game. And Nuzlocke in general, Magnezone is so good, so powerful, and this guy had to show up, so I had to take what I got and be like, alright, I'm gonna use this guy and make him work. I did make him work. He was part of some fights, and I was actually happy to use an Electrode, because the guy that, like in 2008, he was doing that Emerald playthrough, he also had a Sceptile. That's why I always was attached to Sceptile because of that guy. He had an Altaria. He had a Slacking, which I got to use Slacking in our playthrough, but he also had like an Electro for some reason. He also had a Hariyama, but unfortunately mine ended up dying. But he had an Electrode as his electric type Pokemon, so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna like really follow in his footsteps. Only thing is, I don't like Electrode. But I got to have fun with a Pokemon that I don't use often, so I guess I should be happy. Raimeza is like a warrior spirit in the Inazuma 11 franchise that uses Thunderbolts. It's also like one of my top 3 favorite warrior spirits of all time in Inazuma 11. This is another heartbreak. Zinnia killed her. This was an amazing Pokemon. This is one of the best Pokemon that I've ever used. It was so versatile, always useful, will never die basically. This got crit frozen. That's how it died. And then I decided, gosh, this is that way now. And all of my Pokemon were already basically dead, so that's why I had to sacrifice her to kind of get one of my outs. Oh, I saw my out and I tried to go for it, but it didn't work out against Zinnia. Not because she's strong, because I made a mistake, and I'm going to talk about it when we get to Starmie, but basically I had to Valstat, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, it's a great nickname, but basically Valstat is it's a opera soprano that plays Brunhilde in Wagner's Ring Cycle, like a very famous voice in the opera world. Or maybe her name was Flagstad, I don't remember, but I call her Valstad in honor of that. And Wigglytuff was just an amazing Pokemon throughout the run. One of the best Pokemon to use for like random routes for sure. Normal Fairy, it's a really good typing, and her move pool is like Massive. I have so much to say about Azumarill. One of my very first Pokemon ever. Brought her to my first Diamond Hall of Fame. Used her in competitive so much. One of the best Pokemon to use in Hoenn. Brought her to both the first league. Used her against May. Used her against. Thank God she wasn't in the Zinnia fight. Otherwise, she might have gotten paralyzed or something, and she might have died as well. But she didn't. Thank God. She was super good against Drake. Against Steven, she was amazing. Again, and in round 2, she was great against Phoebe, against Glacia, against Drake, and against Steven. She basically was. And if I would have needed her, I would have used them against Sydney. Azumarill is just an insane Pokemon in Hoenn, in ORAS, because of her fairy typing. And I sing all of the praises for this Pokemon. And mind you, during the main campaign and during the Delta episode, this thing had thick fat. Because I beat the Chatelaines, I got a bunch of battle points and I spent them on the ability capsule so that I could get her huge power. But he didn't even need it. That's the beautiful thing. You didn't even need it at first, but then I decided to give it her anyway. Azumarill is just an insane Pokemon to use in this game, and now that I brought her to my first ever league, and just like Machoke to my first ever Nuzlocke Hall of Fame, which to me was basically Wally. Well, she didn't survive. She died unceremoniously because of my own mistake against Wally number 3. That was not as heartbreaking as Zinnia, because we were at the end of the game and we were gonna win against Wally number 4 anyway. But it was just a dumb mistake, just a dumb misplay on my part, and so that's a little sad for sure. But she did a lot, and I'm very proud of Azumarill for sure. Nickname Platina, just like Pearl. Follows the same exact logic as Pearl. Yeah, exactly. Well, I should explain it again. Machoke was in my first Diamond playthrough, my first ever playthrough in Pokemon. I also had an Azumarill, and so and since they were both females in this game, I decided to call the Machoke Pearl, in honor of the 4th generation, Generation 4, and this Platina, because it's a female, so no Platinum, but Platina, in honor of Gen 4. Call him Ant, because he's not small, but and also I didn't have a fancier nickname to give him. Got him, allowed me to do some like encounter manipulation, but I was like, Willard is cool, but not my cup of tea. This was called No Words, because I didn't want to get an Oddish. Where was it? Route 120. I wanted to get an Absol, but I didn't get him. I got this thing. But I later call her Redemption, because these two guys who were caught basically in the same place, Scorched Slab and Route 120. So because I had Sceptile, I thought, yeah, I'm never gonna use like a Vileplume or anything like that, because Vileplume is actually pretty good. It's actually, like, in my opinion, a little better than Sceptile for like the main campaign. But yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna use Vileplume. But then I realized, wait, Oddish has Sweet Scent and Sleep Powder, so I can catch Pokemon with this Pokemon, and I can like summon hordes, which is the best way of training my Pokemon. And so I like Blossom and Crobat. They're level 91 and 100 because they've literally been the coaches of the entire team. They trained everybody. Oof, excuse me. They trained everybody. They were basically the two most important Pokemon of this run. And they were literally the makers of this run. So I'm gonna give them a special place in my heart after this. For sure. They made this run possible. And I call him High Redemption exactly because she went from being called No Words, from being like an encounter for which I had no words because I didn't want it, to basically the second best Pokemon in the run because I've used her so much. Not in battle, but as far as utility, absolutely. I also used her for like Wallace 1 and 2, so she also had the chance to fight, if I remember correctly. Him, I've never used him in a fight. Because I don't know, Crobat. I don't like Crobat. I don't like Crobat as like a Pokemon to fight with too much. But use them the most out of all of them in as far as utility. That's why he's the only one that got a PB Max for Air Cutter for the hordes, and Thief for the items, and Aerialist for the Senshu when I do Senshu hordes, and Fly for flying around. Man, the reason why I got Oddish like before Manectric and Golbat before Manectric and a bunch of other Pokemon, I basically went around. It's a funny story, but I explained in one of my videos. But basically, I skipped all of the routes to try to manipulate this guy, and eventually it was only about luck, but I eventually got him. Thankfully, because he's one of the better Pokemon to use in the Hoenn. Also, Manectric. People love Manectric. I used to hate Manectric. Now I like him. I used to hate Manectric because in Gen 3 it sucks, but in Gen 6 it's amazing. It's for sure amazing thanks to its Mega. Well, I've never used the Mega, but you can. It learns Flamethrower instead of like Overheat. You know, it's just way more useful in Gen 6 in my opinion. And I just wanted to use him in an environment that actually allows him to shine, unlike Gen 3 where it's like pretty mediocre in my opinion. But yeah, call him Stark. I don't remember Stark because I think it's in Game of Thrones, right, which I've never read nor watched, but I know that like the first chapter they talk about wolves or something like that, and I know that like the Stark family, their insignia are like wolves, and so this isn't exactly a wolf, but it's like that kind of like mammal with four legs, and like this is supposed to be a lion actually, but like cats and dogs are the same thing to me, so I'm like Stark because it's also pretty like rough Pokemon. I'm like Stark works perfectly. Put a lot of work, was actually instrumental in a lot of fights. Amazing Pokemon. My favorite water type ever, together with Suicune and Lapras, died to Zinnia. Got to use her in like one fight against Tate and Liza, where I used Sceptile and Melodic, which are like two of my favorite Pokemon ever, and also two of my favorite Pokemon in Hoenn. I would have used this more. I would have used it in the Elite Four, but ultimately I decided to go with Jellicent and Azumarill because they were like just more reliable, better, bigger move pools, more useful. Yeah, Melodic. I said like one of my favorite Pokemon ever, favorite water type ever, but like in the past years this has kind of shifted because Melodic kind of sucks. Like in competitive, it's like sucks to me. It's not interesting to use in competitive because it's very one-dimensional. So, but outside of that, I was just glad to have gotten my. It's the first time ever that I like. Melodic has been my favorite Pokemon of the water type for like 10 years, something like that. But I had never actually got to use one until ORAS. So I'm glad. I'm very grateful that I got a chance to use one in the first place. So I shouldn't complain. It was all EV trained, all that, just ready to go, but eventually I didn't use it. By the way, Hydra is like just, Hydra are like multi-headed dragons that breathe poisonous air, so I thought it will fit. Symphony, because I literally didn't have a better nickname and like melodic has melodic in it, so I'm like, oh, melodic, melody, music, symphony, to keep up with the music sub theme. I had two themes in this run: military and music, because I'm so American, right? Punishment, because this wasn't a trash encounter. This falls in line with short, waste, no words, and roadblock. Because I wanted to shop it from Route 123 so that I could better manipulate Metatite on Mount Pyre, and eventually I got him anyway. But this at the time seemed like a tragedy because I really wanted a Medicham. For some reason, I really wanted a Medicham, and I actually got around to use a Medicham a lot. So I'm glad that eventually I got him anyway. So, but at the time, this was totally a punishment. I'm like, oh my god, why? Violence? I don't know why I called him Violence. Because I think Dodrio are like... I think in its Pokédex entry states how violent this Pokemon is. So I'm like, Violence. Dodrio... I don't know. Normal flying type is... I like the Dodrio line way more than like the Swallow line. But for this particular run, I was not gonna use them at all because they come too late and they're not useful in the late game at all. So I'm like, whatever, I'm not gonna use these guys. In fact, I never used them. What I did use was this guy. Now this guy was a godsend in every single way. Low percentage encounter up on top of Mount Pyre. On top of the fact that I got all the wrong encounters. I couldn't manipulate this the right way, but eventually I did get him anyway.